Greetings Guardians. This is Olympus Alliance and welcome back to another video. Who runs the show? Girls. Who runs the show? Girls. Alright Guardians. Maybe I've been listening to too much Beyoncé recently, but after looking at Hero Wars lately I started realizing something very strange. We have more than 80 heroes. We have demons, engineers, kings, monsters, assassins, gods and warriors. But somehow, lately, the women have been absolutely carrying this game. And look Guardians, every great man needs a great woman beside him. Today I may have chosen more than one. To my wife, I apologize. This is purely metaphorical. But jokes aside, if you don't have some of these heroines built right now, you are going to suffer. Because metas change. Classes change. Damage changes. But what doesn't change is that these heroes completely transform the teams they enter. Without them, mechanics don't function correctly. Synergies don't feel complete. Entire teams stop working. So today we talk about the women secretly running Hero Wars. And we begin with two queens that honestly feel almost mandatory. Electra and Byrna. These two are special because they do not simply join teams. They transform teams. Electra immediately changes the battlefield because she creates protection while simultaneously increasing offensive pressure. The beautiful thing about Electra is that she forces enemies into uncomfortable situations because opponents are constantly encouraged to attack her while she reflects pressure back and amplifies magic attack for allies. Suddenly every mage becomes more dangerous. Every pure damage dealer becomes stronger. Every magical composition starts functioning more efficiently. And then there is Byrna. Guardians? Byrna is ridiculous. Increasing maximum health sounds simple until you realize how many mechanics depend on survival. More survival means more cycles. More cycles mean more skills. More skills mean more pressure. But Byrna doesn't stop there because she also accelerates energy generation while continuously applying magical pressure to enemies. Suddenly teams become faster, stronger and more durable simultaneously. This is why these two heroes feel almost universal. You add them. Teams become better. Now we enter something more aggressive. The Queens of Destruction. And we start with Yasmin. Yasmin is terrifying because she punishes mistakes better than almost anyone else. Fragile backline heroes, poor positioning and teams without proper protection become immediate targets because Yasmin does not want fair fights. She wants vulnerable enemies. Once poison begins spreading and critical strikes start landing, teams disappear incredibly quickly. Kayla brings a completely different type of aggression because unlike Yasmin's surgical destruction, Kayla creates pressure everywhere. Explosions. Fire. Constant damage. What makes Kayla special is that the longer battles continue, the more dangerous she becomes because pressure keeps building and opponents slowly realize there is nowhere safe. Then comes Kendall. Guardians? Kendall is changing this game. Because increasing magical critical pressure already sounds powerful, but then we start adding relic interactions and suddenly pure damage starts critting. Think about that. Damage that normally ignores defenses now starts becoming even larger. Healing transforms into aggression. Sacrifice becomes offense. And suddenly teams begin doing damage numbers that honestly should not exist. Zesha takes another path. She doesn't simply create pressure. She scales pressure. Every sacrifice becomes power. Every longer battle becomes more dangerous. And because she shares this magic attack scaling with allies, entire teams start growing stronger together. This is why magical chaos teams become terrifying, because while you are trying to survive, Zesha is slowly building the force that will eventually destroy you. And then we arrive at Iris. Guardians? Iris is still one of the scariest heroes in Hero Wars. Why? Because prolonged fights become dangerous. Dot becomes dangerous. And teams that rely heavily on buffs or surviving longer suddenly realize Iris is exactly the hero they didn't want to fight. Her pressure constantly increases, and once enemies lose control of the battle, Iris finishes the job. Now we move into another category entirely. Because these women do not simply destroy teams. They make sure enemies cannot even play. We start with Somna. Somna is beautiful because she creates chaos through control. Sleep mechanics create situations where enemies stop functioning correctly, and once entire teams begin losing tempo, suddenly your own heroes gain extra time to scale, survive and attack. Then Polaris. Guardians? Polaris is annoying. And I mean that as a compliment. Because constant stuns create frustration. Teams lose synchronization. Ultimates become delayed. Everything starts happening at the wrong time. And once momentum disappears, Polaris wins. Miu creates another fascinating dynamic. Because not only does she amplify magical pressure, she also blinds enemies. This means opponents are missing attacks while simultaneously suffering more damage. Missing attacks means less pressure. Less pressure means more survival. More survival means more destruction. Octavia completely changes the battlefield through dodge. And Guardians. This hero changes everything. Dodge teams become nightmares because suddenly opponents cannot reliably land damage while allies continuously gain value from surviving longer. Octavia does not simply add dodge. She transforms entire structures. And then there is Lian. Perhaps one of the most beautiful control heroes to watch. Because Lian doesn't simply control enemies. She punishes them while controlling them. Charm mechanics interrupt aggression. Force mistakes. Delay attacks. And with modern interactions and relics, controlled enemies often suffer while being unable to properly react. Guardians? When we look at these heroes together, something becomes obvious. These women are not simply strong individually. They are force multipliers. They amplify teams, create mechanics, enable strategies. Without them, many compositions simply stop functioning correctly. So perhaps Beyoncé was right after all. Who runs the show? Girls. Tell me, Guardians. Which queen is carrying your account right now? Leave your answers below. Stay tuned, stay sharp, and as always, salute and friendship.